Hey, get in here.
Hey, you!
No, get in our room.
Yeah, you, come here.
Come on, come in.
Come on, get in our room.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Get in Our Room. That's Kristen.
And she's Bobby. Do you prefer Bobby or Bobby Joe? Do you have a preference?
Everybody
I guess I should have asked when we were...
Like 6
Well,
months
I
ago?
should have asked when we were... I was going to say 5 minutes ago when we were rehearsing our intro.
I don't have a preference. Most people call me Bobby.
Okay.
Kristen, you drive me crazy. We gotta get you
I know, I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna buy you a boom for that freaking microphone. We are 2 seconds in and Bobby's crawling on the wall.
I won't touch it again.
Okay.
I just had to move it so it was closer.
No big deal. Your audio is coming through just fine. That was our technical difficulty. We ran into some Kristen was underwater and we didn't know why for a few minutes, so we got it fixed.
I forget how to do that every week.
Yeah, it's okay. Totally fine. It keeps it fun, keeps us not so serious. It really is humbling. It's very good. Anyways, okay. So this week it's our fan fiction episode. So Kristen,
Also, we're both in tank tops. How cool is that?
yeah, because it is it's been like high 70s, mid 80s in Michigan. And I live right by Lake Michigan. Not on the lake, I don't have that much money, but I live pretty damn close, and it thunderstormed last night, so today is exorbitantly humid. So, and I have the window open because I don't have central AC in my house. And yeah, so it's already getting a little spicy in here without any conversation about books going on yet. But
I know. Oh yeah, I don't know if my parents are on yet, but I was going to tell them to not listen to this episode. It's going to get a little spicy, a little smutty. So if you guys skip this one, that'd be cool. I won't call you haters.
Perfect. Did you buy that tripod I told you about?
I did. I love it.
Isn't it great?
Oops. Time to wake up.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, so as usual, I want to cover what we kind of read this week, what we took in this week before we jump into our news topics and our main topics, which this week, as I was saying earlier, is fan fiction. I have a Harry Potter fan fiction, and Kristen has a supernatural, unsurprising fan fiction. So
it's all I read, man.
Yeah, that's okay, because we'll talk about it when we get there, but this Harry Potter fan fiction is long. So first, Kristen, tell me what you've been working through this week for books.
I finished, what was that one? The Covenant Secret, the Glass and Steel series.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Number, is that 4 or 5? I think it's 4. So I finished that.
I truly couldn't tell you which one it was.
I can really, you're gonna watch Bobby's face closely when I say, A Court of Silver Flames just became available on Libby.
Yeah.
Bobby hates Libby. It's the only one I use. She's been yelling at me to get on the Hoopla. And as the true procrastinator I am, I just haven't.
Yeah. It's fine. I actually listened to a book on Hoopla recently. And it's actually for our next episode, because our next episode is good book, terrible movie. Or terrible movie with question mark at the end. The inflection there, it wasn't there this morning. Where the Crawdads Sing, that's where I listened to it on, was actually on Libby.
I like how I sound so surprised, as if I wasn't a part of the planning for that.
Yeah, but we do so much of our planning like in advance that I forget. Like I had to look it up. I was like, what are we doing next week even? But
That'll be a good one. That was a very popular book, and I'm very excited to spill some tea about the author.
yeah. So you've just been working through Court of Silver Flames for reading this
Yes.
week. Are you actually reading it or are you listening?
I'm actually reading it. I don't think I'm going to do audiobooks anytime soon. I'm just not a good listener. I'm just not a good listener.
Yep.
So.
At least you know about yourself, right? Like that's all that matters.
What was the last one I listened to audiobook? It was one of the ones in that series. And you're like, do you remember when this happened? And I was like, no.
I think it was the Court of War. Or what the hell is that one called?
Yes.
Can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. There was a lot in that one you should have paid attention to, but that's okay. You can always go back and reabsorb it somehow. So I had a week of consuming things that were not the things I thought I was going to consume this week. So I ended up getting roped in to subscribing to Manta, which is it's like $4.99 a month, but it is a webtoon like graphic comic app.
Oh.
And I loved comics as a kid. I have not read comics or like graphic novels in a very long time. And these are like, so they're webtoons, so they're like every week a new episode comes out, which is a short graphic novel. When I tell you, I consume an absurd amount of these in a very short, like 3-day time. I did. So the one that hooked me was one called Semantic Errors. And I'm on this whole like LGBTQ plus like kick right now, like with reading materials and stuff. And so all 3 of the web comics that I read were male main characters. And it's just and the art is so crazy good. So crazy good. The story is super good. The one is kind of traumatic though. Like there's a lot of like abuse and stuff like that in it, and it's I can't decide if I like one of the main characters. And I'm like, where is this going? How is this happening? And they're on hiatus to like they're in their episodes they said we're on hiatus until May 8th to bring you the best content available. And I am like so sad because I'm like, well, what happens next? I'm like, oh no. But then the other one was Love Jinx, which is also very interesting. And then The Fallen Duke and the Knight Who Hated Him, also very interesting. And none of these are completed series. So I am staying on trend with absorbing nothing that is a completed series. So that's fun and cool for me. I listened to this week on the Hoopla app. Kristen, on the Hoopla app, I listened to Wisest.
What is Hoopla? I've never heard of it.
For those of you that don't know, even though Kristen is well aware from my ranting and raving, Hoopla is you need a library card for your local library and they have to be a subscriber to it. It is a library app. It has audiobooks, movies, TV shows, ebooks. But there is no wait for the items. Now, your library has a certain amount of borrows assigned to them. So, like, I'm assuming your library, like, has some type of subscription in the background. I'd really like to figure out how it actually works. You could actually go ask the library. But, they probably have a subscription where based on their patronage, they probably have so many borrows allowed to them. So like sometimes when I go to borrow from Hoopla, it's like you have to wait till midnight to borrow this because it's like your library's timed out on their amount of borrows. And then you keep the item for 21 days. And you could always, if you finish it, you can return it. Which you should always do, even on Libby. Once you're done, return it. Don't put it on airplane mode because you're pissing off a bunch of people. Like, I get it. But if you like the book enough to finish it, if it goes back and you didn't do it in your, what is it, like 14 days on Libby, go buy the fucking...
No, it's 21.
Oh, is it 21? Go buy the fucking book. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Do better. Libby could do better too, but that's fine.
Do you ever extend your holds? Does it take you more than 21 days to read a book?
Typically, no, it does not. I was re-listening to that third book in ACOTAR, A Court of War and Ruin. There it is. And I got halfway through and I let it go back because I was focusing on other stuff, and I've already listened to and read it before, so I was just like kind of revisiting it. Because I want to get to A Court of Silver Flames again because I have a hard copy of that one now that I got for Christmas from my mother-in-law, and I want to go through and I want to annotate it. So I was re-listening up to that one. I really should buy that series. I don't know. I shouldn't buy any more books. Anyways,
I didn't realize on Book Talk how many people like are just reading these books. I don't know if it's for fun anymore if you're annotating. Like, that's for serious. When you're like putting stickies in and highlighting and taking notes, that's not for fun anymore, is it? That's for serious.
I annotate some of my books. Like, I have a book, Is There Once For Me, that I read, and I annotated it, and then I gave it to a friend to read. But I annotated it with a UV ink pen. So I gave her this little pen with a black light on it so she could like see. But I had flags in it, like those little markers, like those little.
Is UV and black light's not the same thing?
It's a UV ink for black light viewing. Pretty sure. Could be wrong. Who knows?
I thought UV was like sunshine. Like, it'd be way cooler if when you went in the sunshine and all of a sudden it all lit up.
I have a black light pen. There we go. That better, Kristen? I don't know.
I mean, you said the word semantics earlier, and now I'm hung up on it.
Yep. Oh, clever girl. So going back to this Gary John Bishop, he's in his Wise as Fuck book. I read previously his On Fuck Yourself book years and years ago when I was like fresh out of college, driving around the Pacific Northwest for work. And I really enjoyed that book. Do I remember a lot from it? Not off the top of my head right now, because it's coming up on like 8 years. So, you know, my brain doesn't work like that. But this one, he's Scottish and he reads it. And he swears a lot. So it's really, really entertaining. But basically what he does to you the whole entire time is calls you out on your shit. Which is good, because I think that, you know, stay humble, refreshing, introspective. So he breaks it down into love, loss, fear, and success. And then within those items, he breaks it down even further. And I wanted to read the one-liners of the sections that he breaks every item down into, that kind of were like a moment for me, like, oh, I see. So the first one in love is his like topic number 5. The secret to love is to love who they are. So to fully love who someone is, their humanity, their past, their feebles, their incompletions, and their views. You don't need to adopt any of their stuff as your stuff. You don't need to be a doormat or a victim in anything. This is all about the freedom to be you, and how you do that is granting others the freedom to be themselves. So he's like, if you want to be you and be yourself and be loved for you, you need to do that for others. And that really,
I love that.
Yeah, it's great. And it really hit home for some things in my personal life in association with my family. Because like I had moved away and lived kind of all over the country, and now I've come back home to where I grew up, and now I'm surrounded by family, and it's very, different, very overwhelming, because like now we go to the holidays and stuff like that, and sometimes, you know, you don't always see eye to eye with viewpoints, but so it really resonated with me, is like, I don't have to agree with these people, but I can love them. And that's what, deep down, that's, and subconsciously, that's all I want to do, is love them.
I really love that idea of like, it starts with accepting yourself and who you are. And if you want other people to accept, like we're not perfect and other people aren't perfect. And it's the acceptance of self and humanity. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's very good. The other one in the loss section, topic number 2, today is also one of those days you'll never get back. This could be that moment. This could be your day, and the death that you experience, the grief that you're feeling, could be the spark that starts the fire and propels you forward. It's just a matter of changing the way you look at it. And so he talks about death here, but he also, in the loss section, it's the loss of a dream, the loss of a future, the loss of whatever it may be associated with whatever grief that you're feeling in that moment. It doesn't have to be with like the passing of a person, right? And I am so this type of person, is like, this is the day, like, give today the best, because this is what you have right now, this present moment. And so that just really resonated with me. And the other thing that I really appreciate is, in this section, he talks about, when it comes to death, he doesn't talk about it as losing somebody. He's like, I always try to change the language to the passing of somebody, because he's like, I didn't lose anybody. They're still with me. They're still in my heart. They're still in my mind. I still have that love for them. I didn't lose any of that. I still have all the memories. I still have all the love that they gave me over the years. It has nothing to do with losing anything. It's just changing your perspective about how you see that. You just don't have the physical embodiment of that emotion around you anymore. And I was like, hell yes, because we've experienced a pretty serious loss in my family in a very short amount of time. As part of the reason we ended up moving back home. And so I just truly feel like, when I think about grief and I look at me versus my family, a lot of them, and I mean this in the kindest way, sometimes they are debilitated by it. And I always feel like an odd person, because I never have, though I've been extremely sad and I've wept and I've grieved, I've never felt hung up on it. Like, I'm a very emotional person, so I get, like, when Jake's father gets, like, brought into conversations, it takes a lot of, like, deep breath moments, and, like, just because that comes back full force at you. But, like, at the same time, we're talking about something great about him. If he gets brought up, like, there's so much joy in that conversation, so much love in that conversation. So I want to take that in. I don't want the sadness to come forward. And so I always feel kind of like in the past, at least, and then I read this and I was like, oh, so like what I'm feeling is okay. It's normal. This is just my way of grieving, is like, I'm not lost in my grief. I'm, how do I say? I'm one with my grief, and I'm recognizing the thing. I'm not overcome by the sadness, even though I am sad. I'm overcome by the love that gets sparked to my memory when they get brought up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then in the fear section, it's topic number 3. To fear is to be human. To avoid fear is to avoid your own humanity. Fear has nothing to do with you. It's not a fault, a weakness that only you have. In fact, it is as natural as your hair growing, is an essential, unavoidable piece of your humanity. And the things you have in mind in life, those goals you've set, the dreams you've thought up, if you want to actually accomplish them, you have to do them alongside fear. I was like, oh my gosh, because like there's a lot of things and a lot of choices I've been making in my life that are risky, that are like, okay, if I do this, this could happen, and like, what about this? And like, and there's a lot of talking about, and this comes in the next point in the success section, about being like taking action, doing the action. And I just love that most of the time, like, I have a lot of people in my life who are like, how do you do what you do? Like, because I travel a lot for work. I spend a lot of time kind of by myself. I'm always trying new things or doing new things or going out. Like, I don't let these things stop me. And I think that people misunderstand that I still get anxious about. I don't sleep the night before flights because I'm anxious I'm going to not wake up to my alarm. I still like park in certain spots. I pay attention to where cameras are and I park under lights and where in near cameras. Like I do all of these actions because it's not that I don't have fear or I'm not anxious about these things. It's just why would I let that stop me? Because I have to continue. I have to find the joy. I have to do these things. Like, if I'm going to the gym and it's 7 o'clock at night, I park in a certain spot. I try to park as close as possible under a light. If there's a camera nearby, like if I want to use the side stairs door at the hotel and there's a camera, I make sure my vehicle's parked where the camera can see my vehicle. Like I do all these things because I'm scared. Like, but I don't let it stop me. I don't let it like freak me out. Like for example, my best friend Paige was flying out on Thursday to see her and help her mom in Connecticut. And I was talking with her and she's never really flown by herself. And it's been like almost 10 years since she's flown at all. And so she was like asking me questions about, can you bring this on the plane? Can you do this? And then she's like behind after like security, she's like, can I bring buy a drink and bring it on the plane? I'm like, yep, you're all good to go after that. And we were talking about, she's like, do I just sit at the gate and wait? And I'm like, yep, you just sit and wait. And she's like, how do you do, like, this is crazy. She's like, I'm so anxious. My stomach hurts. I was like, girl, happens to me every week. Like, this is normal. You're okay. Like, so it's just funny because it's, you have to do the things anyways, no matter how scared you are.
So as both of us, as two single women that travel, I mean, you're not technically single, but when you're on the road.
I'm by myself, yeah.
Yeah, two single women traveling. Have you heard, they did a study about how people choose victims? And did you hear it's within 10 seconds that they will choose whether you are victim quality? And it's based on how you walk.
Oh, really? Expand on this.
10 seconds. So it's within your gait. If your gait is confident, if you are aware of your surroundings, if you walk and you look like you're going to put up a fight, most perpetrators, I guess, will avoid you if you look like you'll put up any kind of fight whatsoever.
Oh, that's great because
the military said a strong heel to toe walk. That's like people will never fuck with you if you have a strong heel to toe walk.
Because I always
a strong gait.
I love that. I love that you brought this up because because I tell this to family members all the time, like you're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to be present in the room that you are in. There's a reason you're there. Exude that. And so it's just confidence, right? And so like when I'm somewhere, I'm like, I'm allowed to be here. I'm allowed to take up this space. Like, so that's really cool to
the other thing that goes along with that is actually not wearing sunglasses in public spaces. Because a lot of times if you look at somebody, people, I keep calling them perpetrators. I don't know what else to call them, but they are just like wild animals where predators always hide, right? And usually if you look at a predator, they stop. So same with people. If you make eye contact when they're several feet away, usually they'll stop and change direction. Because again, that's confrontation, and these people aren't looking for confrontation. So it's making eye contact with the people around you to be like, I see you, man. I see you coming at me. I'm ready. And so that's why a lot of these safety, personal protection gurus, again, not so good with the words this morning, but they say to not wear sunglasses in large public settings so that people can see that you see them.
hell yeah. These are all fantastic tips. So coming back to the success section, because, and I want to, I'd love to expand on this whole topic here that we've fallen into, but I have 3 items that I want to talk about out of the 5 in the success section. The first one is item number 1. When the responsibility for the quality of your life lies with anyone but you, you become the victim. Blaming people for things that happen or happened in your life doesn't resolve them. Finding someone to point the finger at doesn't fix anything. Good luck with waiting for that apology, too. Even if you eventually get it, it's most likely won't do a thing for you, no matter how much you've convinced yourself it will. I spent probably a good 4 years of my life spiraling about having a lot of guilt about some things that happened in my life. And the moment I figured out that I needed to forgive myself for the mistakes I made during that time and took ownership of those, was the moment that I stopped being the victim and started healing myself. And became,
absolutely.
And did a whole 180 and became somebody I actually loved and enjoyed to be around. Like, I enjoyed to be in my own head. So that one,
Aww.
yeah, oh my gosh, like, is good. And so when I read that, when that was the first one in the success section, I was like, hell yeah, because I just resonated with it so deeply.
I personally, I hate apologies. I hate them more than anything in the world because I find them to be hollow and pointless. I always say that the term "I'm sorry" is reserved for like when you bump into somebody in the grocery store. It's not useful in interpersonal relationships because it doesn't take ownership of the mistake that they've made. It doesn't promote change. Like, apologies, I'm sorry, like those are just, they're pointless. They're incredibly pointless.
I agree with you. You know what I started doing when I recognized that I did something that maybe constituted some type of apology? I call my ass out. I say, I was being a bitch. I will do better next time. I think this is why I was being a bitch. I'm going to watch that, so next time I don't do that to you.
See, there's no "I'm sorry" involved in taking responsibility, and there's no "I'm sorry, I apologize" involved with changing your behavior going forward. They are the most hollow phrases in the English language.
It's, yeah. So number 4 takeaway per statement is true strength doesn't come from your character, but your willingness to go beyond it. True strength isn't a product of character. True strength is when you're doing something you've never done before, when you're thinking, I don't know, or I'm too tired, or I can't do this, and you go beyond, because that beyond is exactly where you'll find those new levels of strength and an array of wide open pathways to new results for you to explore.
That's very interesting. I don't know how that relates back to character. I'll have to read that whole section.
It comes back to strength of character. So in finding success, so like when you're not sure what to do, or you're and this lines up with the next one really well. When you're not so sure what to do, or you're scared or tired or whatever it is, to be successful, you have to push beyond those feelings. You have to take the next action. So that leads me into number 5. Life only ever changes in the paradigm of action. In most professions, you don't get paid less if you do your job while you're in some negative mood, as long as you're doing your job. But you do get paid less if you don't do the work while you're floating on cloud 9. That's because it's the action that matters, not how you feel. Kind of brings a whole new meaning to the phrase, get your act together. So it's saying, like, if you take action, no matter how you're feeling, no matter what you're doing, beyond that is your new definition of what you can do and how you can be successful. It's going to bring you up to that next level.
I definitely agree. I agree with the premise, right? That like you have to take action, and even when you're tired, you have to push through, because like that's where you're going to find the new you, is beyond your comfort zone. These sentences just aren't making sense in my brain, and I can't quite pinpoint why. I get the idea, but something about them is just not. I'd have to read the whole chapter to bring it together, but it's just not quite clicking for me.
Definitely. And these are actually the 2 that I knew you would struggle with. Like I was like, she's gonna have problems with these last couple. So
I'm just not relating character to.
it's success, it's not character. They have to think about.
But he used the word character.
Yes, but you're getting hung up on it too.
All right, I'll read it. I'll listen. I don't know. I'll figure out something to absorb the
Kristen,
information.
This is one I think you should listen to. And the reason I think you should listen to it is because he reads it and he's got a Scottish accent. And he swears a lot. But I would
keep me engaged.
Yeah, it's 4 hours long, and I got distracted a little bit during it, but it's one that I would easily go back and re-listen to and pick up new stuff. Like 100%. So the excerpt, I want to just give a shout out because I didn't have the physical book, so I was kind of like looking up some Spark Notes kind of thing. And I found a blog, and the gentleman's name is, I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but it's WAI, so Waya Yan, YAN, his blog. And he just like did each section and broke it down into the first like grab aspect of Wise as Fuck, and he did a fantastic job, and that's what I was referencing for those items, and I just wanted to give him a shout out for that. So I also started reading, because I have that book that I talked about last week, A Kingdom of Venom and Vows. I'm still like 60% of the way through it and haven't picked it back up. I plan to tomorrow when I'm traveling. But I got caught up on a CJ Archer book.
It's just fun to be transported into another world, carefree, and
yes.
Well, I don't know if this book is carefree.
It's book number 2 of 3 in the Lord Hawkesbury's Players. It's A Tempting Life. It's an adult, so this is one of her 2 adult series that she has. Elizabethan era historical romance. And it's really entertaining because the guys in the story are hilarious to me. All the women are the best. So it's really good. It's just really easy to read, really is curious. She does a good job. And I bought another book yesterday because I made the mistake of going into Barnes & Nobles, but Jake let me, so it was fine. And I bought, and it was totally the name of this book that made me buy it. It's called The Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon.
Oops, I'm in.
Yeah, I was like, and I'm buying that. So it was in the rom-com, like, you know how I was just at Barnes & Nobles, they have those little tables with different things, and it was on a rom-com table, and you know how I've been into, everybody who's been listening for the past several weeks knows how I'm into rom-coms right now, and I was like, yep, that sounds like something I need to read, so I bought it. So stay tuned for information on that in a future episode.
Love it.
All right, Kristen, so we'll move on from what we've consumed this week and all of our tangents that we get on, which I love. They're the best. They're some of the best parts of our episode, honestly. And we'll talk about some news.
Yeah.
And I will start with mine because you seem to have some unhinged, hilarious things going on that you want to tell us about. So, and I want to hear them. So I'm going to get all of these out of the way really quick.
First business, then pleasure.
Yes.
That sounded way grosser out loud than it did in my head.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing I want to bring up is kind of tragic. Have you been keeping up with what's happening in Missouri about the libraries?
Mm-mm.
So House Republicans are working to defund, and by defund, I mean the state house granted initial approval to slash roughly $4.5 million in state aid to public libraries from the budget.
I mean, that makes sense to me. I think the majority of that population can't read anyways. Never mind. That's Alabama.
You're not wrong. You're probably not wrong, which is also sad. There's a
It is.
literacy issue in America, and it's tragic.
Yeah.
But
We're poking fun, but it is a very serious issue.
But the reason they're doing it is to try and curb what people are reading. So,
Which is just the dumbest thing I can ever imagine. In all of the world, it's so dumb to be like, we're going to defund a library. It's all online. It's all on Kindle Unlimited, Libby, Hoopla, etc. I guess you have to have a library card for those. But at the end of the day, how can you curb access to these books if they have access to the internet?
Here's the problem with Hoopla and Libby, though. The library has to subscribe, and if they have $4.5 million less, how are they going to pay for that subscription? So even if they can't have the physical book in their building, how can they pay for the subscription to have it available online?
If anybody from Missouri wants to use my address for a Texas library,
yeah, we'll
we can now have Libby and Hoopla.
Yes. Yeah, so like specifically they're going after the LGBTQ plus community, and the books that are being presented in that regard. And also they're trying to curb what was it, like the history, so they don't want slavery to be talked about. They don't want like these other very important, very relevant, and always will be relevant historical topics about our country to be learned and understood.
We should start a program that connects people that have large libraries with people that have small libraries so that they can exchange library cards for Libby and Hoopla and just circumvent all of the silly shit the government's doing.
There you are, Kristen, with a great idea.
Instead of getting upset about it, let's just circumvent it. What's that song? I don't need the laws of man. Tell me what I ought to do.
Who sings it? You know?
I don't know. It's a TikTok song.
Oh.
I saw something the other day. This woman made a shirt saying like people like me didn't make these laws, so I don't need to abide by them.
Oh hell yeah! I need that shirt.
And I was like, "Yep, that's exactly how I feel." I don't. That's not my law.
All right. So, 2 other topics. HBO Max might be doing a Harry Potter series. Each book being a what is that called? Season. There we go.
That's already been done. It's called a movie. They have 7 of them.
Yeah.
It's already been done.
Yeah.
Like Avril Lavigne said, sit down. It's all been done before.
Yeah. So they're talking about doing it, which there's been, and J.K. Rowling is a controversial person because of her transphobic commentary that she's had in the past. There was a lot of the Legacy of Hogwarts video game came out, and there was a lot around that too. But Mike Schubert, who is the host of a podcast called Potterless, so he read all the books as an adult. He made a statement saying, "I'm sure it will be a success in terms of viewership, and it's a great opportunity to see things on screen that were left out on the cutting room floor for the films, because there was a shit ton of really small details that were left out that really makes the story truly grand, as we know and we talk about with our next episode, Good Book, Bad Movie." He said, "But I don't think it's a good idea." And he was talking to The Guardian when he was making this statement. "J.K. Rowling's involvement in the project and profiting from it is the biggest issue I have. Beyond that, though, the movies are still fairly recent and beloved, so I don't see why we need to retell the same stories." So straight to your point of it's been done. Why are we?
And I'm with him. I don't have strong opinions about J.K. Rowling, but in any essence, every time we look at these movies that are made into, or these books that are made into movies, I just think like sell out. Like good for these authors that are getting movie deals, but and I don't think we ever published this one, but we talked about like the Golden Compass.
Mm-hmm.
The color
my audio
of
was
that
off the whole time. It was trash.
I love it. The woman's hair color. In the book, it was supposed to be brown. In the movie, it's blonde. and the author made a statement being like, it's perfect, sell out. And I feel the exact same way about this. Like, she's just, nobody wants this, nobody needs it. It might be cool.
But you're not gonna.
I'm not gonna watch it.
Like, but when I think of like characters, the first go around of characters and actors who played those characters was superb. And then you're gonna have a whole different cast for this, and I'm just like, this is not acceptable to me. I mean, maybe it would be because maybe we'd see more people of color in the series, which I think could be very valuable. And
actually, you're right. The only way I'll ever watch this is if they make Harry Potter a person of color in the remake.
Or Hermione, or
I won't settle for anything less.
Yeah, just anything.
Ooh, and then they could make the scar white.
Yeah,
stand out.
Yeah, see,
I won't settle for anything less.
Yeah. And then Game of Thrones. I've never read it, never watched it, but they're getting another spinoff by the sounds of it. The spinoff is going to be called A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. And it's going to be 1 century before the events of Game of Thrones. And it's around Ser Duncan the Tall and his squire Egg. So if that means something to you, cool. Doesn't mean anything to me. But George R.R. Martin, the author, who's also a producer and director, who was very involved in making Game of Thrones because he wrote it, he's serving as writer and executive producer for it.
So Game of Thrones, I watched a little bit of it. I couldn't keep the characters straight, so I stopped watching. But I did watch House of the Dragon, mostly because I did not realize that it was the same. It was like 2 centuries before or something like that, or way before.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you read the reviews, everybody's like, I already know what happens. I don't need to watch it. I already know how all of this ends. Because it was like this history, Game of Thrones did a history lesson about this era. And so you already know who lives and who dies and how it ends and everything. And so a lot of people were like,
what's the point?
I already know how this ends. I already know who these people are. And they're like, so again, it's just a big money ploy. Like, get your money, but it's not. I don't know. I think that'll run its course really fast. Hopefully.
Yeah. So tell me about what you want to talk about this week.
Oh man, these are really off topic. These have nothing to do with reading or books. I was in a small town this week. I was in a really small town in Nebraska. I just love small towns. I think I love it because I get to leave them. I'm only there for 2 days. So in this small town, the only place to eat for lunch was in the bowling alley. And the bowling alley, the only time you can bowl there is like Wednesday nights.
What?
Yeah. The service was like, that's a stretch for what this was when you walk in, and we sat there and waited for like 5 or 10 minutes. And then the lady shouts from across the bar, the restaurant, the bowling alley. I don't even know what it was. What do you want to drink?
No way.
Yes. Didn't even hand us menus, just rattled off. She was like, she said the daily special, and then just stopped. I was like, okay, the daily special it is. Which was freaking meatloaf.
Oh my goodness.
But the best part, as enjoyable as that was, the best part was the owner that I was working with. He's like an 80-year-old guy. And so he's talking about, I was like, this is a pretty cute town. And he goes, yeah, the children of the people that invented Kool-Aid live in this town. And I was like, that is so cool. Like, you know, just like, that's how you follow up a story like that, right? Cool, man. I like Kool-Aid. And he goes, yeah, but they're just people. You got me. I thought they were going to be like leprechauns or Kool-Aid jugs. Like, what?
I thought they were going to be giant pitchers, and they were all different colors to represent the flavors of the Kool-Aid. Like we got kiwi strawberry, we've got mixed berry, we got grape, we got blue because we all know blue is the flavor of blue.
I would just stand there like, you had me from start to finish in that story, and I had no idea how it was going to end.
That's hilarious.
They're just people.
They are. I like his perspective. They're just people.
So this next thing is a little terrifying. Do you have arachnophobia?
I get startled by any type of bug that surprises me, which is mostly spiders. Like, for example, because this is a spider story, I was warming up. I don't know why I was doing this because it was hot last night, but I like to have some hot cocoa in the evening sometimes. So I have the electric kettle, and I went to fill it up, and it's just chilling in the spout of my electric kettle was a little yellowy white spider. So I'm like, I'm gonna dump out all of that to kill this spider and put him down my sink. So sorry, spider, but he had to go because he startled me. Yeah. But I do not. Like, I have a photo on my phone of I was in Oklahoma and there was like a spider like pretty big, like probably with his legs like 3 inches around. It was like a wolf spider, which we have those in Michigan, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I made him mad, but I have it. I put my boot right next to him so I could take a picture and so people could see that he was like the whole size of the toe of my boot.
Oh my god!
I'll send you the photo later.
No, thank you. So, I came across a story that brown widows are hunting and killing black widows and becoming the dominant species in the South part of the United States. They're very aggressive, and they are trouncing black widows. So, of course, I had to click on the article. Anyways, it's good news.
Sorry, I just Googled what the hell these things look like, because I was like, I now need to know what a brown widow looks like, because terrifying. And
we have the technology to screen share.
Oh yeah, we do actually. Let me try and nope, didn't pop up. It's being a dickhead. Alright, you guys, hold on. We did. Let me try again.
So while you work on that, I'll just keep telling the story. So brown widows are extremely aggressive, and they are hunting and killing black widows, and they're borderline obliterating the species of black widows in the southern United States, which at first you're like, oh my god, they're terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But it's actually good news because they are less likely to be around people, and they're less venomous than black widows. And their defense mechanism against people is to just stay still. They just kind of freeze. They're not aggressive towards people.
Sorry to those of you who are watching who do not like spiders, but there are a lot of spiders.
Oh yeah. Hey man, I did start this by asking if somebody had arachnophobia. That should have registered as a trigger warning.
That's a brown raccoon. Those are scary. Yeah, so this is, I think, a good photo. And in the title of this is Invasive Brown Widow Spiders Are Pushing Out Black Widows. NPR News for Southern California.
Oh, California. Oh, so it's not even in my area.
Well, I mean, it might be. Who knows? I didn't click on this.
Yeah, that's the exact article I read.
Oh, yeah. So this is LA NPR's.
Guys, look at how fancy we're getting.
Yeah, we're trying here. We had a delay because technical difficulty. This is just our life, you guys. This is just figuring out as we go, having fun with it, exuding chaos.
You just gotta fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Yep.
People say it's like the bad thing, but I like to find out, so.
Gotta fuck around.
Oh yeah, so actually it's a good thing that these brown widows are pushing out black widows.
Are they as venomous? Like, I'm sorry, I was Googling why you said part of that.
They're less venomous.
Cool.
So they're less venomous and they're less likely to be around people. So they do love quiet, dark places, and they don't like to be around a lot of traffic and people. And yeah, so they're super aggressive towards other spiders, not very aggressive towards people and pets and stuff. So it's actually like
That's good.
good.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyways, somehow I got further down the Black Widow hole. What are Black Widows legendary for?
Black widows are legendary for?
Yes.
Two
I
things
put you on
come
the
to
spot.
mind.
We didn't
They're-
practice this.
Yeah, that's good. There's two things that I think about when it comes to Black Widows. One is that red, like, hourglass little thingy. The next thing is, like, the reference to Black Widows being, like, back in the 1800s, like, women poisoning their husbands.
Yes, and the spider themselves are infamous for biting the heads off of
Their mate.
mates or eating their male counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
So male Black Widows are smaller, faster, and more agile than female Black Widows. And Black Widows eating their male mate is only observed in captivity.
Oh, really?
Yes, because in the wild, because the males are smaller
They get
and
away,
more
little
agile,
fuckers.
they just leave. They just skedaddle. But when you're in captivity, locked in a box, there's nowhere for them to go.
Interesting.
They also learned that male Black Widows can sense if a female Black Widow is hungry or if she's eaten recently, and they just won't go near a Black Widow that hasn't eaten recently.
That's
Which
something
again,
human men should pick up on.
take note. But
Take
again, in
that-
captivity, that's not something they can decide.
Interesting. Super interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we now have two instances, spiders and wolves, of behavior in captivity being incredibly different than behavior observed in the wild. Anyways, that's how my week went, and it's been bothering me ever since, and I really needed to talk about it.
Well, I'm glad you did because I learned things. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified every time we upload. It really helps us out. All right, so I'm going to go first with my fanfiction today because reasons that I will explain shortly. So I picked Harry Potter fanfiction. And I know there's like a Malfoy Hermione one, and I want to read that. And my friend out west, Ryan, she read it and she like printed it and got it bound. Like, it's good. So I was looking for some other stuff, and another really popular one is actually the Shoebox Project, and it's a 26-part fan fiction that is back in the days of the Marauders map. So when Messrs. Mooney, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs were adventuring in school. The first part is letters between Lupin and Sirius over the summer, where Lupin is in Latvia because by this time, he's a werewolf. He's spending his summers in a facility. I'm assuming, because it kind of alludes to it but doesn't come out and say, assuming it's for werewolves and to kind of contain them when they have to transition and to help them through the after effects, some of which we saw in the movies and understand from the books. And this part is 17 pages long. Like, and this was PDF, so it's like 17 letter pages. My favorite
Single space,
Yes.
12-point font.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah. It's a lot.
Does it give you a word count?
I didn't look that deep.
Okay.
But it was really hard. I got to page like 14 and I started skimming the letters because the banter was interesting. There was some really funny parts where they were like, kind of like, if you know the movies, like it's like would be foreshadowing what events that would come in the future kind of thing.
Oh, how fun.
It was a lot of fun, but I was having trouble just reading these letters. And I only got through part 1 because I got obsessed with those webtoons. So I did my job terrible this week, so I'm sorry everybody, but my favorite line out of the whole like 17 pages was it was in a letter that Lupin was writing to Sirius, and it says, honestly, some friends, they try to kill you and call it camaraderie, the spirit of great fun. And I'm like, how relatable is that? Like, just be like goading people to do something kind of sketchy and then like being there to pick up the pieces. But at the same time, it's a hell of a story and it ends up being great fun in the end, no matter what happens, as long as nobody dies, right? And so I just love that because it gives a really good insight. The banter just gives such a refreshing insight, and Sirius is one of my favorite characters in the whole like Harry Potter world. And then Snape is my other one because he's just so good, such a good character. And I do want to continue to read. I like skimmed through part 2 because I was like, the thing I wanted was immediate banter, like group banter between the friends, like actual dialogue. And part 2 is another dozen pages long. And it's in the middle, but it switches between perspectives, between like each character in certain places. And there's more banter in it. So I think I am going to continue to work through this. So like the next fan fiction episode we do in a few weeks, hopefully I'm further on, and I want to do this one again because I think it has to be good with 26 parts. There's multiple like authors who specialize in each character. So it's really interesting, and I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I want to give it its time to shine. So that's why I'm saying like I'm like this is going to be brief because I didn't get as far, but it's really intriguing. Again, it's called the Shoebox Project, and like I said, there's multiple people who work on each character. It's really interesting. So
you saw all of those questions wash over my face.
Yes, I did.
To clarify, this is just something these 26 people are doing for funsies for free?
It's not 26 people. I think it's like
26 parts.
26 parts. Yeah, it's
That's
on.
weird.
So it started on like a fan fiction site, and I can't remember which one it was, but then they went and they put all the PDFs on their own. It's shoebox.lamora.com. It's a WordPress, so like a blog. They put them all on there, so you can go there and you can click on the PDFs and like download them. Because if you can find them in PDF form and you download them, you can actually pay to get them bound. And that's what my friend Ryan did with the Hermione and Malfoy one. She found the PDFs, got them all into one file, and got them bound.
So you don't have to pay for the PDF, though?
No, I downloaded it. I would recommend reading it on an iPad, though, because the font, because how it is in a PDF on your phone, the font is so tiny that's another reason why I didn't read it, because I started the first part of it on my phone and it was so hard to read, and I'm already blind. So like I ended
too much spicy light.
Well, there was no spice in it yet. Like they alluded to like this.
No,
there's a. Oh, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
Too much spicy light, welding arc light.
Oh yes. Yeah, and bad genes. So both my parents wear glasses, and then my sister and my brother. My sister wears glasses. I think my brother's supposed to, but he doesn't. And then my older sister has just fine vision. She's an asshole in the best way. I love you, Brittany. But she's got like that petite. She's got those genes where she's like petite, fine bone, muscle structure. She can eat like a whole cake and still have a six-pack kind of person. And all three of my siblings are actually kind of like that, except my brother's tall as shit. And I, on the other hand, take after the complete other side of the family where I'm short, but I was the most athletic one. And I'm like, I barely have any muscle definition, but I'm strong as hell and thick as heck. So it just is what it is. It's fine. But That's why I call her.
Bobby is not joking or being over exaggerating. She's not being hyperbolic. She is literally strong as an ox.
That's the goal in life. Not need any man's help.
Bobby makes
Jacob.
men look foolish.
The only man I am weak around or allow myself to be like, can you help me please, is Jacob. I'm like, he hates pickles, and I'm like, I can't open this jar of pickles. Can you open it? But if I'm around any other man and they're struggling to open the jar of pickles, I'm like, Hannah, here, I got it.
All the bass in your voice.
Yeah.
Bobby sounds like Batman. I can open those pickles.
Yep. So anyways, I'm going to continue with this fan fiction because I think it's going to it has to get really good if all these people invested this time and there's all these parts. And it seems really popular on like the forums and stuff as well, because that's actually how I found it, on some forums. I don't know if it was Reddit or like another fan fiction forum site or whatever, but stay tuned for more on this one. I'm hoping it gets even better.
Very cool.
And
that's amazing.
And I really want them to introduce young Snape. I want, because it's like the summer before school starts and then it picks up where they're going to school. And that's the part that I want, that I care about. I want to get them into school. I want to see their interactions with other characters and stuff like that. The other part that was in the later letters, they start talking about James Potter's parents. And I'm sitting here thinking while I'm reading this, I was like, we never know if they're dead, or I'm assuming they're dead in like the books, the Harry Potter books, but we never really learned much about them or how they died. And I think it would be really interesting to know that.
Well, that's true, because if they were alive, Harry would have gone to live with them.
Right. So like, because he went to live with his aunt on his mom's side, which is the non-wizarding side of his family. So there has to be more lineage. And they start to allude to his lineage with the Deathly Hallows and stuff like that. I want to know more about that. And that literally part 26 or 25 or 26 is something about the Deathly Hallows. And I'm like, mother trucker, that's the last part. There's a lot to get through.
Just give me the 23andMe on Harry. Give me the Ancestry.com.
Yes. Yep. So stay tuned on this. I'm going to go down this fandom or this, fandom for this fanfic. So
that's exciting. Is it still fan fiction if it's the same characters and they're tying it into the same story?
Yeah, because it's a different perspective. I think fan fiction is
anything
associated with a story, because there's a lot of like fan fictions that like merge like characters from different stuff. So like the Totally Spies fan fiction that I was reading, there was a lot of fan fiction that like merged Totally Spies with like other cartoons from the same era.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I want to just draw some attention. I came up with a name for myself for these podcasts a long time ago, because I have bangs and I wanted to like present myself as Bobby Bangs, but I can never do it like seriously. I just want to point out that what me and my other coworker call my bangs, because they have a mind, the whole personality. They are behaving today, so I'm excited about that. But go ahead, Kristen, and continue on with your fan fiction.
Yeah.
Because normally they're like stabbing me in the eyes or like getting stuck on my glasses, and today they're just being good, well-behaved bangs.
Bangs are a trip, man. They are a surprising amount of work. So, for my fan fiction, of course I pick Supernatural. Of course. I can't help myself. It's actually the only fan fiction I read is Supernatural. But for those that don't know, I don't know how much of this you'll know, Bobby Bangs. It's Supernatural is 15 seasons long.
Whoa.
It's 23 episodes per season that are all 45 to 50 minutes long.
That's a lot of airtime.
Yes. So we really
Yeah.
get to, I mean, I think that's why there's so much fan fiction. We really get to know these characters. And then it's an entire show, 15 seasons, about two brothers. Like, there's other characters that come and go, but predominantly those two for 15 seasons.
And who are the brothers?
Sam and Dean Winchester.
Because my friend Sky
Dean,
is a big Supernatural fan.
yeah. There's a lot of us out here. Some of us are just a little more closeted. It is a pretty insane. It's a pretty insane group within the Supernatural community.
I've learned that
The
from
Supernatural
you.
community is they're insane. They're absolutely insane.
I've learned that from you, yes.
I don't know if you spent any time on Tumblr or.
I spent a lot of time on Tumblr, but it was in some weird place.
Tumblr and Reddit, the Supernatural community usually pops up in damn near every comment section because there's a quote for everything.
Oh, I'm sure after that much showtime. Yeah.
And it's just the most off the wall. Like, they have the most absurd things. And so they like to play little games where it's like, is this a real quote? And then it's Dean screaming, "Fight the fairies." And they're like, yes, that is a real quote. There's more obscure ones. But anyways, that's just a little background on the show. It started in 2005 with Dean starting at the age of 26 in the show. So my fan fiction today is based in 2001. So that makes Dean what, like 21, 22 at this point?
Okay.
So an adult, but still out on his own, but without his counterpart Sam, without his brother, out on a solo hunt. So he's out on a solo, well, I guess not really a solo hunt because he's with somebody, but he's without his family. And the whole premise behind Supernatural is all about family. So he's out on a hunt with another random hunter who happens to be female. So, of course, this turns smutty real quick. But what I really loved about this, more than anything else, was that this one really matched the tone of the show overall. Like, their vernacular word choice? Vernacular is word choice, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, I'll read a quote really quick. And I just thought this matched the show as a whole really well. When Dean, they're talking back and forth about, like, being covered in blood and stuff like that. It's,
Can I
Dean, yes.
read the definition of the
Yes.
Sorry, I was trying to. I'm so Midwestern that I was reading the phonetic way to say it and being like, okay, teach yourself how to say it properly. The language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people in a particular country or region. So yes, you that spot on. Go.
One me. Okay, so this quote really quick is Dean gets all, like, they got back from a hunt, so they're covered in blood, and then he showers and he looks better. And she's like, hot damn, you look good. And he says, back at you, Hawkins. Shit, that sounded lame, even to Dean. Still, it seemed clear Annie was singing from the same sheet. And if you've watched Supernatural...
No, sorry.
Probably a music sheet.
Oh, I was like, the bed.
They'll get there. But it's just like silly stuff like I guess it's not silly, but they do have a very particular and odd vernacular in Supernatural.
I've seen a lot of like the outtake clips, like the some of them are, I think you sent me quite a bit of them actually, but it's like I love, like, my favorite like outtake is oh, what is the show? Parks and Recs, where was it Chris Pratt? They're talking about a comeback, and he brings up the whole Kim K. The Kim K video,
and everybody loses it.
so good because Chris Pratt is just sitting there like totally serious, rolling with it, And he owns it, and that's probably one of my favorite outtakes. But yeah, I've seen some of the really funny ones that for Supernatural, like the clips. So I get what I get where you're going with that whole specific vernacular and banter.
Yeah, and so this author, this was on Archive of Your Own. They just do a great job. Ruby Tuesday 22 is the author.
Ruby Tuesday on Popular. You know the Ruby Tuesday restaurant. Sorry. They had an awesome salad bar. Well, like salad bars are gross, but I grew up in the 90s, so like they did have a great salad bar.
That's true. Salad bars used to be all the rage, didn't they?
Yes. Our bowling alley restaurant had a salad bar and it was like really popular.
And then people
If
just
you
gotta
hear
like
Jake in the background, my window's open, it's gonna rain soon, so he's letting it out. So he's yelling, "Go potty back." Sorry, guys. I don't know if you can hear it, but I wanted to address it just so it's not hanging in the background.
Somehow I want that to become the sound of our show. Go potty, Bella. Ooh, that should be our intro and our starting soon. Hurry up, go potty, Bella.
And really, it's me because I always have to use the restroom too.
And I always wait till the most inconvenient time to go.
Same. Or judge of proper break.
There's nothing I love more than getting a middle seat on an airplane back to traveling all the time and drinking an entire Diet Dr. Pepper before we take off and then being like, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom. And then sitting back down and pulling out another one and chugging it. And then being like, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom.
I used to get the window seat because I love the window seat. I love having a space and like looking out the window. I almost always now pick the aisle seat because I've got to go pee. If I'm drinking the right amount of fluids every 30 to 45 minutes, I have to pee. So not that everyone needed to know about our bio break, but yeah, it's horrendous.
Now you know, I enjoy asking the aisle person to get up. And then I love the look on their face when I pull out another drink from my backpack somewhere.
This bitch.
It's like the what's that meme right now with Nick Cage being like,
yes,
and that other guy is like that's me. I'm that other guy as I pull out another drink. I try to embody that energy everywhere that I go.
Yo, that's awesome.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah,
fanfiction.
I have another quote, and this is just another show of like that cute vernacular and how it matches. This is as they start getting smutty, and Annie says to Dean, "Slow down, cowboy. There ain't no prize for being fastest gun in the West."
Oh, that's awesome. And so accurate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So it was cute and it was really well written, which is always it's always nice when somebody edits them. They go back and edit them so they're easy to read.
Yeah.
But with this one, and a lot of Supernatural fan fiction does this with Dean. I feel like he would be a real douchebag. He's a ladies' man. He's a player. He lies to get whatever he wants. But in all of these fan fictions, they always turn him around to being, he's obviously being written from a female's perspective in a lot of this fan fiction.
Is that more appeasing? Would you
appeasing?
Would you have preferred his character in the show to be more akin to the character that you see portrayed in the fiction?
No.
Okay, cool.
I think it's I've been thinking about this for a long time and I still don't know how to put it into words of like he's been romanticized into being a good guy. He's been but I think if you met and so it's in this fan fiction, it's my one gripe with Supernatural fan fiction is that it's written from a very feminine perspective, and it makes Dean into
Oh,
less of a ladies' man, more of a
I am all here for him not like feel for I am totally the enemies to lovers. Give me darkness. Let me
Mhm.
show you the light kind of essence.
yeah.
All here for that. Like fuck having a boy who thinks sweet and special. Like give me the asshole that recognize you they find their or the only kind with.
And that's more who he is in the show.
Yeah, give me that any day of the week. And
A little bit.
these worlds that are developed and read about, like give me that. Like funny though, because I feel like Jake's the complete opposite. Like Jake is the
Yeah.
kindest, sweetest guy to everybody, but he's constantly giving me a hard time. Well, I think it's just but he like challenges me. It's good for me. I need it. It brings me down a notch. But like in my books, it's like the bad boy and she is the light. Anyways, yeah. So I digress.
But no, that was actually a really good way to explain it, right? Is that bad boy mentality, and a lot of the fan fiction written about Dean, it just doesn't hold true to his character. Like they're using his name, which conjures his face. But it doesn't feel like it holds true to his character and what his character would do and say and be like. And they seem to do that a lot to feminize genteel. That was a great word. Because I truly believe, as much as the fandom and the supernatural fandom is largely women, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the majority of women, like we all fawn over Dean, but I don't think the majority of us would actually
Pursue.
like him as a person.
Yeah. Gotcha. I could see that.
If that, but then in all the fan fiction, he's turned around to be somebody we would all like be in the same room as.
Gotcha. One of the books that I read recently, and I actually just did a review post over on our Get in Our Room Instagram, is a book I spoke about on the podcast a couple weeks ago too, called Iced Out, and it's a hockey romance. But the one character in there, Quinn, he's a total bad boy, but like in the best way possible, kind of bad boy. I'm like, yes. And he actually, and he drive there. I grew up riding motorcycles, and I want an Indian Scout pretty badly. I probably won't buy one. Bunnies.
Death Trap.
Miles for miles.
It's not about if you're going to lay a bike down. It's about when.
Yeah, just wear the proper attire and be prepared for it at every moment. That's all you can do. Why have fear? Remember, wise as fuck. Anyways.
Yeah, but some of it has to be logic based. Some of it is irrational, like a phobia, and some of it is like,
So I'm
the stats aren't static.
Like even but anyways, in the book, Quinn rides an Indian cow. But going back to what you just said, I just wanted to finish that topic before we pivot again here. The thing that no matter what situation I'm in, I'm constantly thinking about my get out. Like I could be walking through a parking lot. I could be in an airport. A bomb goes off in this airport. What am I going to do? Like I'm already thinking about that all the time in my brain. If I'm driving and I get in a crash, like what am I going to do? Like if I'm different scenarios, I'm constantly running through that monologue in my head. It's pretty dark. My head can be pretty dark. Anyways,
I mean, it's important to a point, right? To make sure that you're aware of your surroundings, your exits, right? Knowing your exits, having a plan for the most obscure things, right? Because you see a lot of people when things happen, they freeze.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy ever.
So to be like, okay, it sounds really silly to say, but if there's gunshots, run away from the gunshots. But I also have, in working with fear and stuff like that, I also have a thing where I'm just like, there's some shit that it's just gonna happen, and there's just no getting around it. And you know, my favorite saying of all time is, "It is what it is." Like, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes crazy shit just happens for no fucking reason,
All
and
the
there's
time.
no way out of it, and you're just like, "That's life, baby.
It is what you make it.
That's showbiz, baby."
Yeah. So yeah, I want an Indian Scout motorcycle, and yes, I understand they're a death trap, but you know, fun.
As long as you understand, that's all that matters.
I'm aware.
Back to Quinn. Did you
Yeah.
call him the quintessential bad boy?
Ugh.
Can you tell us more about that? Did you mean to make a pun there?
Ugh. I did not. Did I say that? Did I do that?
Did you?
I don't know, because you just did a great job. If I didn't, you picked up and you made it wonderful. Thank you, Chris.
We're singing from the same sheet.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah, he's great. He's just like he's trying to prove himself because his family wants one thing for him and he wants another thing for his future. And so he's going and doing the things against all the odds and proving himself each step of the way and carving his own path, and all the while being handsome, tatted hockey player, rides a motorcycle, and just probably got a great butt and good thighs because he's a hockey player. So.
Has to. There's no other option.
I don't mean to sexualize his character here, but it does.
I do. I'll do it for you. They have the best butts in all professional sports.
And then you can't see them because they're all not padding until they dress up in you see them in their suits before or after the game. And then you're like, and I think they're some of the more well-dressed too, because like half their teeth are fake or they're missing teeth, but they still just look delectable.
Yes. They yeah.
And hockey's my favorite sport, by the way. Like
having the best butts and being most well dressed when they show up for a game. Easily.
And for people who get in fights a lot during their said profession, a lot of them outside of their profession aren't as akin to being like, you don't hear about like aggressive like women beating like you do in basketball or football, like, you know what I mean? Like you hear a lot about that domestic disputes and like basketball and football, but you don't really hear about it in hockey as much.
Right. I would say they are super sweet. When I've met them in public, they're super nice. Bella! Oh, that's right. I'm just yelling in your ears. She can't hear me.
No, that's my. It's raining. Yeah, it's like pouring out. Sweet. It's not supposed to thunderstorm, but she's probably anxious about the idea of it storming.
What do you guys do during thunderstorms?
Listen to her freak out.
Oh.
We bought some CBD treats for her, and they take a minute to kick in, but we thought it was supposed to storm today, not at 1:00 in the morning last night for 4 hours. So we didn't give her one until it already started. So she finally did pass out, but it was Jake and I were at each other's throats because of her. Yeah. So, because I like had already fallen asleep, and then all I hear is him trying to like talk to her. He was being a good dog dad, and I was being a tired bitch. Point blank. That's what I was being. Because we didn't go to bed till like 11:30, or I didn't, and then it doesn't matter, but it was like a whole thing, and I did feel like a dick this morning because I was a dick last night, but I was mad because I got woke up.
Isn't it the worst when you get that first sip of coffee and you're like, shit, I feel like a dick.
Me all the time.
Oh man. What a great episode, man. What are we, 2 hours in?
Hour 25.
That's it?
Yeah, because, we had technical issues. So we probably been at it for 2 hours, but we just had issues.
Because every week I have the same issue with my headphones, and every week I forget how to fix it.
Yeah. All right. So for next week's episode, we are doing. I was mistaken. I think I said this wrong in the beginning, or maybe I didn't say. I don't remember. It's been an hour and a half. So next is bad books and or what? Good books, bad movies, something like that. But we're gonna talk about Where the Crawdad Sings. So we did mention that, but that's next week's episode, and I look forward to it because I have some thoughts and things to say. I have not watched the movie yet, but I'm gonna watch it this week, and I look forward to that as well. But
Next week, are we including spoilers, or are we encouraging them to read or watch the movie?
I would
Oh
encourage
my
you
god,
to.
Bella looks so cute.
She is adorable. I would encourage them to at least read the book. It's a pretty easy read, honestly. Because there will be conversations about things that happen in the book that don't happen in the movie, which would probably contain spoilers. So definitely take a listen to that. It's on Libby. It's on Libby, so you can listen to it and read it there. And it was available right away on Libby as audiobook, by the way. From my library when I got it. So take a read on that, and I look forward to discussing it.
I know, and it takes a lot of pressure off of me. I'm the spoiler queen, and now we have a week of people to prepare for me to ruin everything for them.
Yep. Perfect. All right. So thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Get in Our Room, and we will see you this week.
Toodles!